All right, we're good to go now. I've pushed live.
I'm back. I had to grab a cup of water.
Oh, no worries. I've pushed live. We're good to go. And I'll stay for 10 minutes just to see if anybody is facing any problem.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be co-hosting since you're gonna just be here for a couple minutes anyway.
Yeah, I'll be here for a couple of minutes, but you can make me co-host if you want to.
Okay. You're Hey, good morning. Hi, Joe. How are you? Hey, Helen, welcome back.
Good morning again.
And Joyce, I see you're here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Marion. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Let's see, Marlene, you there? Oh, there you are. Hi, Marlene. Okay, is that May?
Hi,
Hi, May. How are you?
good, thanks.
Let's see. See Mary down there. Hey, Mary.
Just listened to I watched your class on Facebook and how it works, but I think I put the chicken before the egg. I think I should be watching this first because I'm very new to Facebook.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think I'm going to learn about it in this class.
Oh, well, this is the iPhone class. So
Right, I have an iPhone, and that's where
okay.
I have to start, and I don't know how to start, so I'll
Okay.
go back and watch.
Figure out the phone first, and then figure out
That's
Facebook.
right.
Okay,
Exactly.
that's probably a good idea.
There we go.
Oh, there's Joe Mary. I can see you now. And Cease, how are you? Welcome.
I'm slowly but surely figuring out where I left off on this.
Thank you, Pang.
There's Joyce's picture coming through. Great. Good to see everybody. Let's see. Liz, how are you? All right. Let's see. We've got a few more people that are probably going to come in, but I'm going to get started setting things up so we'll be ready to go in another minute or two. Right, there we go. And if I think I've heard from everybody But just want to let you know that Joe is here for a few minutes from our TA group. If you have any problems with your microphone or your video, just reach out via the chat and they can help you with that. Let's see, I am going to go ahead and share my screen. So you should be able to see my slides over there. And let me make sure you can see my iPhone. If you're having trouble, if there's pictures in the way, let me know and I can help you move those pictures around. While I move your pictures around over to my other monitor. So I can see you all over here. See Diana's come in. Hi, Diana. All right. Okay, all right, so I've got your picture squared away. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. And we'll probably end up having to mute again during the course of the class if we start to pick up any background noise or echoes, or if your neighbor starts up to more or something like that. So point being, just remember to check and see if you're muted before you ask your question or make your comment. If you are, just unmute yourself and then go ahead and ask away. You don't need to raise your hand or anything, just ask your question. And I'm going to also open the chat, and that is now open. So if you are having any problems with your microphone, you can reach me via the chat. But if your microphone's working, please just go ahead and ask your questions out loud. That way everyone else can hear your question, and I'll be able to hear your question as well and get you a quick response. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. That's all the preliminaries. And we may have a few more people join us midstream, but we got a lot to cover today. So this is iPhone Basics, all you need to know. I do want to thank you for attending. Hope you enjoy the class. My name is Wade Yarber, and I'll be the guide for your class this morning. A little bit about my background. I'm from Mason, Tennessee. It's a small town just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. I have a degree in psychology from West Virginia University and have taught off and on various places, but spent most of my working career installing and training users how to use hospital information systems, trained a lot of doctors and nurses. And what I enjoy the most about Get Set Up is the fact that I'm teaching people that are in the class because you want to be in the class, not because you were forced to be in the class. And what we try to do with our Get Set Up classes is to set up an environment where you can take classes you're interested in, along with other people interested in the same topic. You can interact with each other as well as interacting with the guide. And hopefully that's a nice, safe, comfortable situation for classes. The session is going to be recorded, and any participant can request a copy of that recording. Just send an email to help@getsetup.io. I'm going to put that in the chat. In case anyone doesn't have that already in your email contacts, just copy it from the chat. We'll talk a little bit more at the end of class, how you might want to use that email for some other purposes. This session is being live streamed, so we do want to welcome anyone joining us via live stream. Thanks for joining. Hope you enjoy the class as well. But just remember to get that full Get Set Up experience where you can interact with the other learners and ask questions of the guide. You do need to go to our website and register for the class. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products we train. We are purely trainers. So let's talk about some of the things we're going to cover today. We're going to help you figure out your phone's model and which version of the iOS you're on. That's the operating system for your iPhone. Understand several ways to silence your phone's ringer. That's always handy. How to navigate and use the various screens. There's probably a couple you don't even know exist. And we'll spend a good bit of the class talking about how to manage apps, how to manage widgets, and how to get into and use the app library. These are all things that are fairly new. They came along with iOS 14. So let's get started. So I'm gonna, hopefully, again, I'll check again. If anybody can't see my phone, let me know if there's pictures in the way, because this is where the action is gonna be. I'm gonna scoot it over just a little bit. But first thing we're gonna do is figure out about your phone. And to do that, you're gonna need to go into the Settings app. It's right here on my phone. It's probably somewhere different on your phone, but it looks like this. Tap your settings. And we're going to go down to General. It's this third block of settings there, the first one. And then click the first row, which says About. If anybody's not up with me, let me know. This is very important information about your phone. That's why it's called About. The name of your phone, and if you want to do like I did, you can change the name of your phone. All you have to do there is just touch it, and then you could enter a more custom name. I think by default, it just says iPhone. More importantly, here's your software version. This is what they call the iOS, the iPhone operating system. And hopefully everyone is on 14 or higher. Is there anyone that's lower than 14? Okay, because if you are, there's a few things I'm going to show you you won't be able to see.
It has actually two more numbers. It's 14.4.2.
Okay, so you're not at the current one, but as long as you're on 14.0 or higher, you'll see all of the things we're going to talk about.
This is an i11.
Okay.
So I'm not sure why it wouldn't have the most current.
Not sure, but we'll find out in a minute.
Okay, thanks.
The next is the model name. You can see mine is an iPhone 8. Be sure and take note of your model, because there's some things that are going to be different depending on what model you have. And I'll try and call those out. And then it actually drills down further to the model number and then actually the serial number of your phone. It could be, if you're calling for Apple support, they may ask for either or both of these pieces of information as well. But that's the basic information about your phone. Let's touch General at the top and go back one level and get into the software update. So I'm going to touch that one. And for mine, it says 14.5.1, iOS is up to date. If you're on something older than 14.5.1, you'll probably see a screen that looks something like this. That'll tell you that you have an upgrade available. And there'll be a download and install option here. So if you see that, don't do it now, but either later today or even better tonight, plug your phone in, make sure your Wi-Fi is turned on, and click that download and install, and let it install overnight while you're sleeping, and you'll be all up to date the next morning. Did you see that, Cease? Was yours saying you got an update?
I was looking for that. It first says, says it's includes the option to unlock iPhone with Apple Watch.
Okay. Yep. So
while wearing a face mask.
Yeah. So that's the upgrades. So.
Oh, okay. So I have to
Yeah. Go
press
down a little
download
bit.
and install later.
Yep.
Thank you.
Because in some cases, it'll turn your phone off and turn it back on as part of that download and install. So you may lose part of the class with your phone rebooting.
Okay, I'll do it later. No
Yeah.
problem.
All right,
Thanks.
great. So any questions about any of those two, the about or the, well, yeah, I have one other thing here. At the top of the page or at the bottom of the page, if
Wait,
you've got an
excuse
update
me.
waiting, it says automatic updates. It's
No.
at the top on mine. On the other one, if you've got something, it'll be at the bottom. Click on that. And this is where you can tell Apple to automatically install updates for you. If these are green, then Apple should be automatically installing the updates as they come out. Apple doesn't always do it immediately. Sometimes it's later in the day. So I've even seen it take a day or two before it gets installed, but it will typically be installed. If you see there's one waiting, you can always download and install it yourself. But this gives Apple the ability to install them automatically for you. If these are turned off, you have to do it manually. I usually let them do it themselves, so I turn those to green. Questions before we leave this section?
In order to download, does it have to be plugged in and into the wall?
Some places it says it does, and some it doesn't. I don't think it has to be. I've done it before when it wasn't plugged in the wall. You have to have Wi-Fi, and I would have it plugged in, just especially if you're doing it overnight, just to make sure that you got a full charge and the battery doesn't die midstream. But you do have to have Wi-Fi turned on. Okay. All right. So let's talk about a physical feature of your phone. There's a lot of physical features, but I'm assuming you know most of those, how to turn it on and change the volume. But there's one, and it's here in the upper left as you're looking at your phone. It's called the ringer on off button. It's really not a button. I call it a switch. It flips up and down. It's like a long little recessed lever there. And what that does is it turns your ringer on and off. So if you're going into a meeting, going into a church service, going anywhere where you don't want your phone to go off, you can flip that. And if you look on my screen, I'll flip it. It actually will tell you, it just says silent mode on. So that means right now it's turned. So and usually you'll see a little red bar at the top. I'm gonna flip it the other way, and it's gonna say silent mode off. I think there's a better way to control your ringer volume, and I'll show you what that is. I point this one out because it's happened to me twice. It just happened to my wife last week. All of a sudden calls were coming in, but the phone wasn't ringing. This button gets flipped in your purse, in your pocket somehow. So if you ever have calls coming in and your phone's not ringing, 95% of the time, this is the problem. Flip that switch and see if that doesn't fix it. Another tip and trick here as well is if you do get a call coming in the middle of a church service or a class, hit the volume button. Either one, up or down, doesn't matter. It'll stop the ringing immediately. Whoever's calling, they'll still hear it ring, and it'll go to voicemail, so they can leave you a message, but it stops the ringing. Keeps you from getting nasty looks from people around you. Okay, let's move on to Do Not Disturb. This is how I control ringer volume. I think it's a better way to do it. We're going to go back into settings. I'll start at the top here so we're all in the same place. So come down to the second block of commands, and it's Do Not Disturb right here. The icon is a quarter moon. You'll see that at several more places, so make note of that as well. But I'm going to click Do Not Disturb. And this is how you can turn Do Not Disturb on and off. Mine is on right now. I turn it on whenever I go into a class. After class, I can click it and turn it off. So calls will come in. This turns on not only calls, but that ding you get when you get a message or a notification. There's several reasons I like this better than the switch. There's several things you can do with this. You can schedule time to have it off automatically. You can tell mine goes into Do Not Disturb mode at 10 o'clock at night, goes off at 7 o'clock in the morning. That way my phone can sit on the charger beside the bed if I need to call somebody, but incoming calls won't ring. It's not going to wake me up in the middle of the night with telemarketers. If I'm expecting a call and I want to turn it off so I can get that call, I can just click on that slider button and turn it off for that day. The next day I can turn it back on again, and it'll remember what my settings were. There's a lot of other stuff in Do Not Disturb. We're going to just talk about one more for today because these are the three things that people do the most. So on and off, scheduled, and then repeated calls. What this switch is, if you turn it on like mine is, if a person calls and then that same number calls again within 3 minutes, the second call will come through. Typically, if somebody calls you and then calls right back within a minute or two, they think it's an emergency. You may not agree, but I let those calls come through. This is also a trick you can tell friends and family. You may say, if you're like, I'm on Do Not Disturb a lot since I'm teaching, but I tell people that If it truly is an emergency and it goes to voicemail, call again, because I use do not disturb a good bit. And so that may be the case, but only do that if it's a true emergency. You don't want to tell everybody about that trick, but it's a way people can get through to you if they need to. We have another class called iPhone Personal Safety Features, where I'll show you other ways you can have people bypass this do not disturb. We'll save that for the other class. I have two people I have set up that can always get through do not disturb and get to me.
I missed whether you have do not disturb and scheduled green or not at the very top.
Yep, green means it is enabled.
Okay. Do you have both of them? Oh, okay. All right.
So this is the where you can just turn it on for a meeting and then turn it back off again.
Oh, okay.
And this is for a fixed schedule.
You don't want it green all the time, you're saying.
Yeah, this one, no. So after the meeting, you would turn that one off.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And there's easier ways to turn it on and off. I'll show you that in a few minutes as well.
So if the do not disturb is on, then you wouldn't get your calls. It would be like silencing it.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, that's why I'm not getting calls. Okay.
Could be. We'll do it.
Yeah. Problem solved. Thank you.
Solved. All right. It was worth the class already.
Yes.
All right. So let's go to the main screen if there's no other questions about do not disturb. And let's talk about the parts of the main screen. I'm gonna go through this fairly quickly, but let me know if I go too fast. The top part, ignore everything up here. This is not part of my screen. This is the tool, the app that I use so you can see my phone on my computer screen. So my screen starts right here where the colored part starts. And this is called the status bar. And it tells you the status of some things like your Wi-Fi connection, your cell connection, and what time it is, if you can read that. Remember, they do not disturb. The icon was a quarter moon. That little quarter moon tells me that do not disturb is turned on. So if maybe after class, I forget to turn it off. When I look at my phone, I see that quarter moon. It's like, oops, I forgot to turn off do not disturb. I'll go and turn it off. And these are other indicators. This actually tells me I've got an alarm set. This tells me I'm sharing my screen, etc. And then your battery life remaining. So that's the status bar.
I don't have that.
You don't have this?
No.
There's, what model phone are you on?
A 10R, XR.
There's probably a setting somewhere where you can turn that on or off on the newer phones. I don't think I've got that on my phone, but that's interesting. I never had anybody in class say they didn't see that.
Yep, there's
I don't see that on mine either.
Okay.
I have an 11.
I'm guessing on the newer phones, they either got rid of this or it's a optional. There's a setting somewhere to turn it on or off.
Okay.
Wade, I have an iPhone 6S and I can see that, that I have reception, but I don't see the Wi-Fi signal on the top of the screen.
Is your Wi-Fi turned on?
I don't know.
And that probably not. This is telling you your Wi-Fi is turned on. So if you,
I know what the problem is. Up above on the very top, I can see the time, and then there's a black bar across that taskbar, so I can't see it. It's kind of like an oval thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, it's the infamous iPhone notch. That's what it is.
It's a bar. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look if I can find an answer to that on this. I'll put it in the email that comes out after class because it must be on the newer phones.
Yeah.
On mine, it's all the way over to the right. And I have like two of those bars instead of all the way over to the left, like yours is. Mine is all the way over to the right. And then it's got that Wi-Fi signal. It doesn't say Wi-Fi, but it does have that signal
Just
right
the
there.
icon.
That icon.
Okay.
And the time is what's all the way over to the left.
Okay.
That's what mine. That's what mine.
23. So
That's what mine looks.
an
That's what
iPhone.
mine looks.
Sorry.
That's what. That's what mine looks like also, but my bar's in the middle. But so I have the taskbar now, so I don't have to look for that. It's just that it's covered.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Apple likes to keep changing things, which makes it fun for people teaching classes.
Well, there's a lot of complaints about that cutout notch because it's right in the middle of the screen there.
Mhm.
Yep. And that starts with the newer phones on the
Right, correct, uh-huh.
newer than an 8. Mine is an 8 and mine doesn't have that notch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. So I think we've solved most of them.
Yeah, solved.
Great. Thanks everybody for helping with that. All right. So this is the home screen. We're going to talk a lot about this later, and it's home screens. There's more than one. You've got several. There's a little indicator, which, and I think this is on all the models. This may not be on the newer models either. It shows you which screen you're on. Like on mine, it has 4 little dots, and this shows me I'm on screen 3 or 4. I think somebody told me on the 12 they didn't see that, but certainly on the 8 and older, it's there. Not a very important part of it, but it's another feature. And this bottom part is called the dock. And what the dock is where you can keep the apps you use the most. I think by default, it's got a phone, it's got the Safari browser. I've swapped out and used Chrome instead, and your iMessage, and that's it. There's room for 4. I added my settings down here. I'll show you later how you can change what's down here. But the nice thing about the dock is that as you go screen to screen, those 4 are always there. So these should be the 4 you use the most. The next thing we're going to look at is called the notification screen. And to get to the notification screen, you put your finger up in the upper left part of the screen and watch mine and pull down. And it pulls down the notification screen. These are those little notifications you've probably seen pop up on your screen occasionally, and they disappear. This is where they disappear to. So if you haven't been using your phone for a while, it's been on the charger, or you just didn't have it with you, it's not a bad idea to open this up and take a look and see what's come through. You'll see if you look through them and you don't need to deal with anything, it's just letting you know things on your calendar and weather alerts and those sorts of things. You can click the X. It'll change to the word clear. I'll hit clear and it'll clear all that stuff, those older ones out. It'll keep the newer ones. So you can have a smaller list to deal with. Oh, by the way, if you look at the very top notification, it says do not disturb is turned on. Again, that's the reason I like to use do not disturb instead of the switch. It tells me up here it's on. It also tells me here that it's on. So if you forget to turn it off, you get lots of reminders to turn it off. When you're done, you can just put your finger and swipe it back up to the top and get it out of the way. Or you can touch the home screen, home button, it'll do the same thing. The next thing is called the control center. And to get to it, it depends on your phone. If you got an 8 or older like I do, swipe up from the bottom. If you look at my screen, you'll see it coming up from the bottom. If you've got newer than an 8, you got to swipe down from the top right. Either way, you should get to something that looks pretty much like this, not identical. This also has the status bar on it. But what this is a collection of things that normally you would have to go find an app or go into settings to get to. They're all here and they're one swipe away. They're quick, easy to get to. Here's that quarter moon again. So normally if I'm going to turn on do not disturb, I don't go to settings, do not disturb on. That's 3 clicks. Instead, I do one swipe and touch that moon and it turns it on or off. You can also go into airplane mode, turn your Wi-Fi on if it's not on. Somebody was looking at their Wi-Fi and they weren't seeing that icon. If it's not on, it would be grayed out here. You can turn it on from here. You can change the screen brightness, it's handy sometimes. And down here, it has room for 8, what I call tools. These are typically apps on your phone. But if you're like me, I use calculator a lot, and I used to be doing this thing, looking for my calculator, trying to find it. Now, if I want my calculator, I just swipe up and touch the calculator from here. I can get to my calculator. I can swipe up and get to my phone, my timer, my magnifying glass, audio recorder, camera, notepad, and stopwatch. You probably have different tools here than mine. I'll show you how to pick the ones that you want, but that's what the control center is. It's a quick way to get to things you typically use a lot without having to go hunt for them or click all the way through settings to get to them.
Question, right, Wade?
Uh-huh.
In Control Center on your quarter moon, that do not disturb, if I went into the settings like you showed us and set a scheduled time, if somehow during the day, if I manually slide the little slider on the side for like maybe 15 minutes, will it override what I put into the do not disturb thing from settings?
Nope, that'll still be there.
Okay.
That one for the scheduled.
Mm-hmm. So by manually sliding that little bar to red during the day, you know, like for a quick 15 minutes, it will override and erase what's in settings.
No, not for that scheduled part. I mean, if you had it turned on in the slider bar, you could turn it off from here. So this and the green slider are the same switch. This is faster to get to than going into settings, do not disturb, but it's the same thing. If I turn it off
I see.
here.
I can hit it in that control center and turn it back on right there too.
Right there. Yep. Turn it off, turn it on.
Without hitting the little slider with the little red bar. Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So yeah, much quicker and easier to get to it from here. That's why I like to do not disturb. Swipe and a click, and you can turn it on and off.
I'm just thinking of something else. You know, my husband has problems with neuropathy in his fingers and joint things. So instead of trying to manipulate that side thing, he can hit the bar right here without any problem, huh?
Okay. Yep. If that's easier, and it probably would be.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure. Now let me show you how you can configure what you want to see in the bottom list here. Again, I showed you what I've got. There's other options. So we're going to go back into settings. Speaking of settings. And right here at the very bottom of my screen, you may have to scroll down to get to it, is Control Center. It's in the third block of commands. If you come here, you can see these are the 8 that I'm using that I showed you. If I decide I don't want one of these, maybe I don't want the stopwatch, I could just touch the little red circle beside it right there and say remove. It takes that one out. It doesn't delete it. It moves it down here. Here it is down in the bottom section now. Maybe I want to put the wallet up there instead of the stopwatch. I can hit the plus sign. That's now moved wallet. So that's how you can move things up and down, put them in your control center or take them out of your control center.
I guess I don't quite understand what you're saying. Because to me, the green means go and the red means you don't have it.
Yep,
But
I know.
this is
I would.
reversed. Is that correct?
It's backwards. Right?
Okay,
So
that's my question.
I would have colored them the same way you would, but yeah, in this case, yeah, I get the saying red, take it out, because in this case, wallet is in my list.
Okay.
I touch red to remove it, and then I pick down here to add something new.
Oh, okay. I can
Or
see
green,
that
sorry.
there.
Yeah.
It should be. I'm sorry. I'm just
Yeah,
red and
it's-
green.
That's the way it works. Anyway, you touch the red to take it out, and touch the green to add it in.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay. There are a lot of options here. I don't know what half of them are, and we don't have time to go over them, but in the email that comes out after class, I'll include a link to an article that goes over all of these, what they do, what they are. So you can play with them and see which ones you want to put in your control center. Okay. That's the control center. Apps and widgets. We're going to cover for the rest of the class because there's lots about apps and widgets. We'll start with apps and moving apps around. And everybody's on 14. So this should work the same for everyone. I'm just going to put my finger on the screen here, not on an app, but just anywhere other than on an app, and hold it for about 2 seconds. And everything starts jiggling. And it has a little minus sign beside it. Once you're there, you can just take something. I want to move one note out of the top row up there and put it in the bottom row. Or maybe I want to put it in my bottom section in my dock. I can drag something out of the dock, take something from up here and put it down in the dock. I'm going to put my settings back down there because I like my settings there. I can move it to another page, just push it off the edge of the page, and now it's on the next page. If I want to move it back, I can just grab it and push it off the edge of the page, and it'll come back to, it'll go to the next page. That's how to move things around. I'll show you how to make folders. Apple doesn't really recommend doing folders anymore, but it still works. And sometimes it happens by accident. It does to me anyway. These three are all similar, so maybe I want to put them in a folder. Just take one, put it over the top of the other one and drop it. And it creates a folder. So now I've got a folder with one in there. Do this again. Hello, why are you not? Oh, there it is. So now I've got two in there. And I can take this one and put it in there. And now there's three. So you can basically make a folder and put multiple apps in that folder. Save space on your screen and you can label them whatever you want to label them. If you did it by accident or you decide you don't want to use them anymore by the end of the class, which I think you probably won't, I can just drag them out one at a time, open the folder, take one, drag it out. And then when I take out the last one, it's going to get rid of the folder. Questions? Touch the screen again to stop them from jiggling. And you've rearranged your apps.
I've got about 3 or 4 screens full of stuff and it came like that. How do you know which ones you need or want?
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. I mean, which ones you use is kind of a different question, but we're going to get into that because 14 lets you do a lot of reorganization and rethinking about what you put on your screens. Let's talk about the next thing. Yep.
What are widgets and what's the difference between widgets and apps?
Oh, you're right on my segue. Okay, that's the next thing we're going to talk about is widgets.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go to my second screen. This is a widget. This is the widget, the Weather Channel widget. It goes with the Weather Channel app. You have to have an app to get the widget. All apps don't have a widget, but you can only get widgets if you do have the app. Without this widget, well, with this widget, I can tell what the current temperature is, what the current conditions are, what the forecast is for the next 3 hours, for the next 3 days. I can check the radar to see if there's any storms coming in without ever touching anything. I just flip to this screen and look. Without this widget, I would have to open the Weather Channel. It always opens slow. I'm not a very patient person. And then now I see the today. If I want to see the hourly, I've got to go here. If I want to see the daily, I got to go here. If I want to see the radar, I got to come down here. So it took me, not a lot of time, but some time and a whole bunch of clicks to see everything I can see here without ever touching anything.
So let me ask you, it's got tornado and hurricane down there and the other one. In other words, if you didn't have tornado and hurricane there, you would not be able to get the widget that tells you that there's going to be a tornado or a hurricane?
Well, this widget is tied to the Weather Channel app.
Oh, okay.
It has nothing to do with anything else on this screen.
Oh, okay.
Now, some of these may have app. I don't think any of these three have widgets yet. Widgets are new. Widgets have been around less than a year on the iPhone. So a lot of these most of these apps come from third parties. So they're still writing their widgets. Like they're more and more all the time. That's why I say every app doesn't necessarily have a widget. But if you don't have the Weather Channel, you can't get the Weather Channel widget. You have to get the app first.
How do you know if how do you know if an app has a widget?
We'll show you just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Let me show you a couple more just while we're talking about them. Then we'll go show you how to get one. Here's two more. This is top stories. So if I want to see what's the late breaking news, I can just flip by here and look. I can also see up to 5 unread messages in my inbox without having to open my, and this is my Yahoo Mail. I can do the same thing for my Google Mail. So let me show you how to get a widget. Just like we did before, touch and hold the screen until things start jiggling. At the top of the screen, depending on your model, it'll be on the right or the left. Doesn't matter. It's the plus sign. Touch the plus sign. And that brings up your widget screen. There it is. Thank you. So from here, I can scroll through and look at the widgets that are available right now based on the apps that I have. I see one I want, and let's get the stock widget. I'm going to touch here, and it opens the stock selection. You see, I've got multiple little dots down here. There's different sizes to the apps. Most of them you only have 3. I call it small, medium, and large. Some of them have a 4th. I'm going to pick the small one. And so you pick the size just by flipping through to the one that you want is the one you see, and hit add widget. So it's now put that widget on my screen. Now I can see what the stock market is without having to open the stocks app.
Could you please?
I'm
repeat
lost.
that? Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
lost.
I'm going to do it 2 or 3 more times.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep. So let's say I look at this and I say that's too small to be of any value to me. I don't really like that one. To get rid of a widget, you just touch it for a second until it pops up the little menu screen, and I'm going to remove that widget. So, which happens a lot. You look at it and you say, I don't like it. Get rid of it. It doesn't get rid of the stocks app. It just gets rid of the widget. It's letting you know that. So it's gone. I'm going to go back in. So I'm going to, again, touch anywhere on the screen until it starts jiggling. Touch the plus. And your plus may be on the left. And then just flip through and look for what widget you want. I'm going to pick this one again because I do want it. I just didn't like that size. So I touch the name of the widget that I want from the search widget screen. And it brings up this choice screen. This is where I pick the size. That's all I do on this screen. I flip through. I want to go with the medium this time. So you get the one you want showing, and then click add widget.
It goes onto your app screen with all the little apps. It doesn't go into your control center.
Nope. It goes into my home screen.
Oh, okay.
And that one's better. I can see the trend. I can read it. It's a little bigger. I like that one.
So how do you know which is an app and which is a widget, and does it matter?
Widgets are always bigger. I mean, the smallest widget is the size of 4 apps, which hits on one of the key points.
Okay.
They're nice, but they're taking up a lot of space, right? Especially if you go with a large size. I mean, this one takes up, I've only got room for 4 apps on that one. What Apple has done, it allows you to do something called stacking. If you look at this app, watch on my screen, this is NBC News. I'm going to put my finger on there and flip down, and there is Apple News. Just like we created a folder that had several apps in it, you can create a stack that has multiple widgets in it. So let's say I want to take stocks and add it over there with the stories. They're all kind of news related. I'm going to touch and hold, get it jiggling again. I can move a widget just like I moved an app. Put my finger on it, move it to the next page, put it up here on top of the stories, drop it. And now I've got stock, Apple News, and NBC News all taking up the same space.
Oh, that's neat. So it's a stack of widgets.
Yeah, think about it like a deck of cards. It's just,
Oh.
they're just stacked on top of each other, and you can flip through to see. You probably want to stack them in some logical order, like these are all news related.
Mhm.
I probably wouldn't want to put my email in there, but I could. If I wanted to stack my email in there, I could just grab this and put it up there and drop it. And now my email is in there with my other stuff.
How did you find the widget you wanted to add? I missed that. Like, you have your apps are shaking or moving.
Okay. Yep.
How do
We'll
you-
go in. Let's go in there again. Before we do that, let me show you one other thing about this stack, and then we'll
Okay.
go back and grab one more. Make sure everybody's got this. Say I decided I didn't like that. I decided I was right. Really, it doesn't make sense to have my email in there with my news. Touch the widget itself for a second, and it opens up the menu, and I can edit the stack. So what I want to do is I want to take my mail out of there, leave the other three in there. So I can just slide this over, brings up the delete, hit delete, took that widget out of my stack. Now I'm back to just my stock and my two news sites. My stocks are gone.
Where did that widget go if you didn't delete it and you just removed it from the stack?
Yeah, that's what I did. I removed it from the stack. It deletes it.
Oh, it automatically deletes it. Okay.
Yeah, when you remove it from the stack, it deletes it. Yes.
Okay. It doesn't have a little space all by itself.
It doesn't. I can do that, and we're going to do that. And this, and just going one more time because it's a little confusing for everybody. I'm going to add it back, but down here by itself.
Mm.
So I'm going to click the plus again. And this brings me to my search. And this is where all your widgets are. So if I wanted to put my Kindle widget or my photos or my Google Calendar, whatever I want to put down there, I can put down there. Just scroll through and see what you want to put in there. I've got my notes. Let's do that one. We haven't done this one. Let's say I want to put my notes down there. So I just touch on the notes. It brings me to my size selector. That's what this second one does. It's where I say that I want the small, medium, large, fat. I'm not sure what that one even is. I'll just go with the medium. And now I just click add widget. Actually, I'm gonna go with the large. We haven't looked at one of those. Add widget. And so there's my notes. So it shows me what's in my notes without me having to open my notes app.
That's neat for my grocery list. I use notes for my grocery list and shopping.
Yeah. Mhm. So that's how they work. Just one other note. If you're going to stack them, they got to be the same size. I can't stack this one on top of this one. They have to be the same size. So if I wanted to stack them, I'd have to go back and pick the medium size in order to stack it into this stack if that's what I wanted to do. All right, let's go to the app library because we're almost out of time, and this is really important stuff too. If you keep going to the right, past your last screen, you get to the app library. So just keep swiping till you get all the way as far as you can go to the right, and you should be in the app library. Every app on your phone is in the app library. By default, Apple puts them into folders, just like we made folders. Apple puts them in folders. If it's got a big icon here, I can launch it from inside the folder. If I want to launch Facebook, I just touch Facebook, and there's my Facebook app. If I want to get one of the little ones, Facebook Messenger, I have to touch this block of 4. It expands the whole folder. Now I can launch anything within that folder, so I could get to Facebook Messenger and open Facebook Messenger. Just touch anywhere and it closes that folder. I'm back to my list of folders again. So that's one way to get to your apps, is by going to the appropriate folder and launching it. There's 4 ways to get to your apps. That's number 1. Here's number 2. If I touch this bar up here, just touch anywhere in that bar, it changes to a list, alphabetical list of my apps. So I can scroll through, or I can touch the letter over here. If I want to get WhatsApp, it's a W. I could just touch the W's instead of scrolling all the way through, especially if you have a lot of apps like I do. And there's WhatsApp. Thank you.
That's your filters.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I just touch it here. So this is a fast way to go through instead of having to scroll. You can see I have tons and tons of apps. I know my wife fusses at me all the time for how many apps I've got. But if you got a lot like I do, this is a nice way to scroll back and forth. The other nice thing about this is that you can also see the icon. Sometimes I don't remember what the name of something is, but I know what the icon looks like. I would not have known to search for iHandy. I just know I want my level. So I could flip through and I'd see my level and know that's what I wanted. That's 2. You can search alphabetically. 3, I could just type the name up here, touch in the search bar and type. I'm looking for WhatsApp again, type WH, and it shows me everything that starts or has WH in it. There's my WhatsApp. That's the 3rd way to find something. Here's my favorite, the last way. I don't have to be in the app library. I can be on my home screen. And if I don't see what I want on my home screen, I don't search throughout I don't do this anymore. If I'm looking for a Huffington Post, from here, I just put my finger and swipe down anywhere on this screen or any other screen. It brings up this screen. It has Siri suggestions. Lots of times what you're looking for is in here. In this case, it's not. These are the ones you've used the most frequently. But I can start typing it. HU, there's Huffington Post. I can execute it from here. I don't have to flip back and forth through all my screens. I can get to any app from any screen just by pulling down. And if it's not in the Siri suggestions, I just type 2 letters and find it. Everybody following me?
Yes.
Yes.
Now let me, okay, we got just enough time to get the last 2 parts of this, which are probably the
I'm
most
sorry,
important
when
parts.
you were doing all the other stuff, how did you get to the first screen? Not this one, but
That screen? Or the app library?
yeah, the app library. How did you get
Just
to it?
keep swiping through until you get to the last screen. It's as far right as you can go. Just keep swiping to the right and you'll get there.
I got it. Thank you.
I have a question. As we're going along here, all of a sudden I have to sign in again, and that happens to my phone a lot. I'll be doing things and everything. If I just even leave it for a couple minutes or so, it's back and it makes me put my password in again.
Hold that thought and remind me at the end, and
Okay.
I'll show you how to fix that.
Okay,
We're gonna get through the app library and I'll do that one real quick.
thank you.
Because there's really only one other point here, is that I said everything is in the app library and that I don't need to go find it on the home screen. I can get to it by just sliding down and searching. So I don't need measure in here. It doesn't need to be on my home screen. None of these need to be on my home screen actually, but so I'm going to take it off. I'm going to touch measure, just touch and hold it until the menu pops up. I'm going to click remove app. Now I've got 2 options here. I can delete the app. That means take it off my phone, get rid of it. I don't want to do that. I just want to take it off my home screen. So I'm going to say remove from my home screen. It's gone, but it's still in my app library. I can still come over here and do this and go to M,
Mm,
and there it is right there.
mm.
It's not gone. I can still search for it. So I don't really need it on my screen. If I get all the apps off my screen, I got room for my widgets. That kind of closes the loop. Since widgets take up a lot of space, get rid of your apps, put your widgets on your screen instead. Questions about that?
Can I ask a question? I mean, I hate to get to where you can add on a widget. How do you get to the screen where you have a little plus to look for the widget?
Just touch and hold on the screen anywhere.
Anywhere. Okay.
Except on the top of an app.
Okay.
Anywhere it's just the background screen.
Okay, I know why. Mine is on the left. That's why I couldn't find it. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, quickly, let's say I change my mind though. I do want my measure out there. And most of the apps I've got on my screen is because I teach a class on that, and I do teach a class where I talk about that app. So I want to put it back on there. And so, well, let me do this. So let me go find it. I'm just going to flip through to the M's, do it the hard way. And here's the app. All I have to do is just put my finger on here and drag it out of the library, or drag a copy out of the library and drop it on my home screen. And now it's back. So you can take them off, you can put them back on. Okay. All right, let me quickly show, somebody was asking about their screen going black and have to re-enter their ID.
Yeah, it goes back to the put in password.
Yep, that's a common question. So I'm going to go click on my settings, go down, I'll start from the top, go down to display and brightness right here. And scroll until you get to auto lock. What's happening is it's locking.
Oh, yes.
Yours is probably set to 1 minute or maybe even 30
seconds.
Change it to be something else. I have to put never when I'm teaching, because if it locks, I lose my display here. I normally set mine at 3 minutes, but you can set it wherever you want to. The trade-off is the longer it waits, the more it uses battery. So you probably don't want to set it to never, but I set mine to 3 minutes, but that's just me. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So we are out of time. I hope everybody enjoyed the class and picked up a few tips and tricks that they can use. And there's a couple of related classes. I mentioned this one already, iPhone personal safety features. These are some things that have to do with protecting your safety. And there's one called iPhone tips and tricks, which are just, as the name suggests, just a bunch of tips and tricks that you can do with your iPhone. So if you want to keep digging deeper into the iPhone, these are the next two classes. And there's several classes around taking photos with your iPhone. Let's go to the closing because we only got 3 minutes left. If anybody needs to get out of here to get to your next class. After class, yes.
A quick question. While we were fooling around with all the icons, I lost the settings icon. Where did it go?
Well, you can get to it by pulling down. Oh, let me, you can't see my screen.
There you go.
But using my trick from any screen, just put your finger there and pull down and type settings. We'll get you to it. If it's actually missing from your screen, you can go into the app library, touch at the top, and I'll type the S to get there quickly. Go to settings and you can drag it off and put it back on your screen.
Okay, thank you.
All right, okay. Don't want to leave you without your settings. That's an important one.
What is night shift? On that same screen with auto lock, what's the night shift?
That just change it to be dark. So if you're doing it in bed at night, it won't keep your spouse awake or it's easier on your eyes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay. So after class, there'll be an email coming out. And in the email, there's going to be a class notes section. That's where it's going to have that link I mentioned to tell you all those things you can put on your control center, all those tools. And there'll be several other links in there. So check out the links in the class notes section. You can send a link to someone that you think might want to take this class. You can do that by Facebook or by sending an email link. There'll be 3 links in the email to classes you might want to take. Just click on the link to go to the registration page. Give feedback opens our feedback form, where you can rate the class. Only 2 questions. How do you want to rate the class? 1 to 5. How do you want to rate the guide? 1 to 5. And there's places for comments right underneath. The last thing is to view schedule. If you click view schedule, it'll take you to our homepage where you can book another class. If you're not sure what class, or if you know what class you're looking for, you can always search by title or by schedule, but I think the quickest way to find something, if you know what you're looking for, is if you're looking for more iPhone classes, just put iPhone in the search. It'll show you the different iPhone classes. Here's tips and tricks for great photos. Here's that iPhone tips and tricks class I talked about. Here's the iPhone personal safety class I talked about. So a very easy way to just see what, and there are a lot of iPhone classes. If I see the one I think I want to take, iPhone tips and tricks, I can click on that. And it'll take me to the page about this. I can read a little bit more about it. If I decide that's what I want, I can click here and book it. And something we just added, I think it's 2 weeks ago now, but when you're booking, you can invite a friend to a future class that you just signed up for. So you can send an email and say, hey, Sally, why don't you come to the same class? Put their email here, click here to send an email, or you can copy a link, paste it in your own email. Last thing is, if there's a guide or guides you want to see what they're going to be teaching in the next week or 2, put their name up here instead of the name of a class, put their name, and it'll show you all the classes they're teaching in chronological order, starting with the next class and going out for about 2 weeks and into the future. All right, I ran you over by 1 minute. I do want to thank you for attending. Hope you enjoyed the class, and hope to see you again in another class real soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Wade. Learned a whole bunch. Thank you.
Oh, good. Great.
Thank you.
Good.
Great.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.